कुमार साहब नायक है गोंगो लुबू लटो का रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे।
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन।
Good evening, Fiji. In this bulletin, claims of prostitution and drugs surfaces at PRB flats. USP VC faces backlash over comments. And Boer starts feeling climate change impact.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Smith.
Claims of prostitution, drugs and violence have surfaced in public rental board flats. The illegal activities are becoming a persistent issue which has been highlighted to Housing Minister Pramila Kumar following her recent visit to the flats. The ministry is now taking stringent steps to curb the growing social problems. Pranita Prakash reports.
The Ministry of Housing has been left shell-shocked with claims made by concerned PRB tenants.
The tenants are complaining about prostitution in PRB flats, drugs in PRB flats, and unnecessary fights among the tenants in PRB flats. Children are not looked after. Children are breaking cars, they're breaking windows, they're breaking other facilities. When PRB staff they go and put lights, in public area, they break that. So how do we deal with this situation?
What we are actually doing is try to educate the tenants, promote awareness programs and our people's presence in the estates to be there, and for tenants to take ownership of the properties that they occupy.
Pramila Kumar says they will be visiting all the estates to address the issue.
We do need the CCTV cameras, but in other places maybe we need security people, security officers 24 hours, and not these security officers not employed by PRB but hired through a firm, so that we can ask them to perform their services or deliver the services as required.
Meanwhile, Kumar says out of the 1,600 PRB tenants, a very few had applied for rent waiver. She adds they have extended rent waiver for tenants who were facing difficulty in paying rents. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
USP Vice-Chancellor Professor AHLUWALIA has been called out for his comments during a recent press conference. He had stated that the restructure of USP has been endorsed by the University Grants Committee, but it has since been learned this may not be true. Edwin Nund reports.
4 days ago, Professor AHLUWALIA said the restructure had the blessings of the University Grants Committee.
We have something called the University Grants Committee, which met in July and said that we strongly endorse what the Vice-Chancellor and his team are doing, and we strongly endorse a restructure. They said, you cannot wait till 2021, you must do this.
However, the chair of the committee, Sunil Sharma, has written to Professor AHLUWALIA saying he does not recall the committee endorsing any restructure. Sharma adds it is not the responsibility of the Grants Committee to consider restructure, as they only look after triennium submissions and deliberate on midterm reviews. He adds AHLUWALIA as Vice-Chancellor should not make incorrect statements. The Vice-Chancellor has apologized, saying he made the statement on the basis of support from the New Zealand representative. Meanwhile, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Research Professor Derek Armstrong has also taken offence at AHLUWALIA's comments. In a 4-page letter, Professor Armstrong hits out at the VC for derogatory comments and personal attacks. AHLUWALIA had mentioned that one senior management staff had refused a voluntary pay cut.
Everybody in the senior management team, except for one person, because it's a voluntary cut, took that, made that. So, except for one person, we've all of us have voluntarily accepted the 5% cut.
Professor Armstrong states that he has since been named and maligned on social media. He says the financial crisis at USP is not caused by COVID-19 but by significant deferral of funding. He adds no member of staff should be asked to take a pay cut when the financial crisis faced by USP is based primarily on the single issue of AHLUWALIA's leadership. Edwin Nund, FBC News.
Ravi Ravi village in Bua has already lost 3 homes due to the rising sea levels, which continues to erode shorelines and threaten communities. Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama, while commissioning a new seawall at the village, highlighted that just like Ravi Ravi, other communities need assistance to relocate as well, calling it a sad reality of climate change. Kelly Vadala reports.
Majority of these villages make a sustainable living by cultivating pearls, and the new 146-meter seawall will ensure consistency.
The seawall is an ingenious combination of human-made and nature-based solutions to provide protection that is more effective and less expensive than a concrete wall. The use of boulders reduces construction costs, and the mangroves planted in front of the wall and vetiver grass planted behind the wall.
Ravi Ravi villagers have over the years engaged in mangrove and vetiver grass planting to protect their community from the rising sea level.
So this nature-based solution does more than build resilience.
The PM says he will continue to press for climate action on the global stage, and Fiji is not alone even with COVID-19 at hand. 58-year-old villager Quilla Paini says during high tide the sea water comes inside their homes.
I am thankful for this new initiative by the government because of the longest time we needed something like this. We first made an effort to plant trees on our shoreline, but it's getting worse.
The head of government says they're aware of the challenges faced by communities and will deliver to the best of their abilities. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
High-end properties are facing challenging times, with people not risking investing in homes currently valued over $1 million. This has resulted in local valuers seeing a decline in the demand for their services. The Valuers Registration Board says normally they would value around 100 properties per month. Qctober reports.
It's tough times in the real estate market, and the trend post-COVID-19 has seen valuers scrambling as the sector faces a lot of uncertainty when it comes to high-end homes.
The higher value properties, which goes beyond million, there is some constraint on those properties for those who are interested in buying because of the loans and other factors. As for the normal properties below millions, normal residential properties, the values have not greatly affected for this period.
Dr. Hassan says valuation plays a critical role in the real estate sector.
Well, the valuation is done through the real estate activities. So if there is no sales in any particular area, which is the main basis for the valuers to determine the value of properties, then it will be difficult.
The real estate market in Fiji is experiencing a decline of up to 20% in property prices.
You know, it's not about profitability at this moment in time in our sector, but it's about sustaining ourselves till we get out of COVID crisis.
The board chair says there are a lot of factors which affect real estate properties and their valuation, including the ability of people to pay. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
The entry of Digicel into the Fiji market was one of the first signs of liberalisation in the Fijian economy. The telecommunications company celebrated its 12th anniversary this afternoon. Minister for Communications Ayaside Kayum highlighted that competition is essential in any economy.
You need to have the ability of businesses to do their ultimate best, not essentially take a free ride because there's no other competition. Because what that, not only does it mean that they will become lazy as a business, they won't be efficient as a business, it also critically means, as a government we're concerned about that the consumers will actually lose out.
Up ahead, late-stage cancer detection a concern for WOW's kids. And capital city gears up for 50th anniversary celebrations.
मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Late detection in child cancer has been a continuous issue for WOW's Kids Fiji. Over the past year, they have recorded a total of 48 cases, as compared to 30 in the previous year. Team leader Mary Williams says there are reported cases they have, but the issue lies in those that are undetected. Venina Rakautonga reports.
WOW's Kids Fiji believes there could be more children with cancer who are not yet identified.
That's the important thing for people to understand. The children that we're looking after are the ones that have come through the system. They've been tested by the pediatric oncology units.
Team leader Williams says treatment and care is always available.
If everyone in Fiji, parents, especially the caregivers for children, if they are fully aware of these early signs that we consistently promote, if they're aware of that and they bring the children early to the hospitals, then the chances of their survival is higher.
Fiji Cancer Society Chief Executive Belinda Chen says parents should try and be more proactive when it comes to the health of their kids.
As an individual, as a parent, it is your right to ask for a referral to the main hospital for further testing. Request a cancer screening or test, at least for your child. Then that way, that'll cover the early detection bit.
WOW's Kids Fiji is looking after 30 children in the Western Division and 18 in the Central Eastern Division. Venina Rakautonga, FBC News.
The illegal use of scuba equipment for fishing has surfaced in a few coastal areas, resulting in cases now before the courts. Minister for Fisheries Semi Koroilavisau says the issue was recently raised with them, particularly by those living in the Yasawa Islands. Kelly Vadala reports.
Spearfishing with scuba gear is prohibited.
Most of our communities do not use scuba equipment. So those that are fishing legally have been complaining that they have been disadvantaged by people using scuba because they dive deeper and for longer period of time, and with the use of spear guns, they have been denied the amount of fish that they used to catch in normal times.
Koroilavisau says majority of the equipment seized were used for harvesting beach timber during the ban period.
I've just had calls yesterday asking me if we could release the scuba gears, but I basically said that's out of our hands. It's under prosecution, so Ministry of Fisheries doesn't have any more jurisdiction on the equipments that have been taken over.
Fisheries Director Merila Campbell warns heavy penalties are in place to penalize those involved in such illegal practice.
Prohibits the use of underwater breathing apparatus for the purpose of fishing or collecting or harvesting or taking any fisheries resource.
Teams from the Fisheries Ministry have gone out to a number of coastal communities to inspect scuba diving activity and in the process have confiscated a few gears. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
With 9 days remaining until Fiji's 50th independence anniversary, the capital city has slowly started to glow with colours of the noble banner blue. The biggest municipal council has partnered with other stakeholders to boost the spirit of Fijians and business houses. Albanese Wangarandova reports national flags have been placed around the city, and the Suva City Council says there's still a lot more to come.
The Suva Municipal Market is expected to come alive as vendors will be competing for the best Independence Anniversary decoration.
We approached the Suva Market Vendors Association and they were quite keen to partner us in this decoration. So next week they will have their own competition. We will have a mystery judge that will go out there and identify the ones we believe that should be awarded the prize.
Business houses have also shown interest to paint the city blue.
It's getting the people in the mood and the momentum, so we're trying our best, during these difficult times. But this is a historic occasion. I think we need to actually, I think we'll be judged in history if we have, in this pandemic, we're able to do this thing.
Kumar says they also expect retailers to make gains as they host the Suva on sale.
We have done our best by encouraging the retailers to put a genuine Suva on sale, and hopefully, that will follow through.
The SEC and the Retailers Associations have also called on retailers to open up their shops if they wish to next Saturday, despite it being a public holiday. With several activities planned in the capital city, the police force has assured they will increase patrol to ensure safety of all Fijians. Apiniswang Rendobu, FBC News.
50 years on from Fiji's independence, Professor Eddie McCaig still doesn't have the answer as to why he was invited to the party attended by Prince Charles. The retired surgeon shares his experience as a young schoolboy from Suva Grammar School who was thrilled to be part of the celebrations on October 10th, 1970. Lena Reese has his story.
McCaig recalls being a Form 6 student whose woodwork project became a big part of the celebrations at Albert Park in Suva.
Building up to that day, we built a replica, a scaled replica of the Southern Cross, the aeroplane that landed in Albert Park, okay, as it flew across the Pacific. And so we built this replica, and it looked great. It kind of worked. We pushed it onto the ground at Independence Day, and we were all proud, a small group of us.
Despite not being able to recall any of the speeches from that day, Professor McCaig says he vividly remembers the events of the day.
I was invited to the function where Prince Charles was present. And even my father said, "Why would you get invited?" Because at the time, I mean, I was a Form 6 student. I was not a sports star. I wasn't a prefect. I mean, I wasn't even a prefect in the school.
The 68-year-old says he was not able to fully comprehend what it meant to be an independent nation at the time, but he described the atmosphere as nothing short of respectful.
At the time, it was total silence as Rotumara and Prince Charles spoke. Yeah. That gets you. That gets you. Is everyone so respectful and quiet? Eh?
This year, Fiji will mark 50 years of independence on October 10th, and a number of events have been planned for celebrations. Lena Reese, FBC News.
And our Vanessa joins us now with the latest in business.
Thanks, Jackie. Coming up, Fiji aims to strengthen trade relations with Indonesia, and in growing Fiji, mango export demands unaffected. Stay with us.
Pula natang ko aprosran kerse, go erkraki, do televizyon navarong na Radio Fiji One, nandomo ibit.
Radio Fiji One, nandomo ibit.
Fiji is gunning towards strengthening its bilateral trade and investment relations in the Indonesian market, says Investment Fiji Chief Executive Craig Strong. Speaking at the Fiji-Indonesia Business and Trade meeting, Strong highlighted last year alone Fiji's export to Indonesia stood at around $0.89 million, while imports were at $61.78 million. Chosoyana Nunga reports the agency wants to change this.
The investment agency is encouraging local enterprises to diversify their operations to boost import substitution.
We can do really now to start to mobilize that opportunity. I think the opportunity to break it down into small bite-sized pieces in terms of sectors. I think it would be really interesting for some of the industry that are here just to get an understanding from a cost basis.
Indonesian ambassador to Fiji, Benjamin Scott Carnegie, says Indonesian investors are astonished with the attractive investment and trade packages that Fiji currently offers.
Currently, we are experiencing a surplus in terms of trade balance with Fiji, but I see that there is still room for both sides to increase its trade.
The ministry will hold more discussions in the near future to lure more Indonesian investors, particularly in the agriculture sector.
What are the opportunities here for coming and investing in agriculture sector in Fiji? At the same time, there's a very much growing demand for Fijian product out of Fiji, agricultural product. For us, it's about meeting the demand.
Since 2012, the Indonesian investors have successfully implemented 2 projects in the general services and construction sector with a total investment of $1.4 million. Josaya Nanunga, FBC News.
Sharon from HFC Bank joins you now with the latest from the money market.
The US dollar was on the defensive at a one-week low today as market sentiment improved. Robust US data and fresh hopes for US fiscal stimulus had investors confident enough to seek out riskier currencies. The US GDP numbers released showed the economy's total output of goods and services fell at a rate of 31.4% in the second quarter. Their GDP had never shrunk by more than 10% on an annualized basis in any quarter since the government began keeping track. However, there are hopes for a big rebound in the third quarter. Overall, the US dollar posted its worst quarter since September 2017 with a fall of about 3.5%. Elsewhere, the New Zealand dollar extended gains to a one-week peak while the Aussie rose 0.1% overnight. But gains in the euro overnight were muted, with European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde hinting that the strategy overhaul and a more accommodative approach to inflation could be possible. And that's all from HFC Bank for now. Vinaka.
Looking at today's local exchange rates as set early this morning, the Sangamoli rose against the US dollar and the euro, but slipped against the other currencies we cover as the US dollar, a major factor in the calculation of the Fiji dollar, dropped in value. Looking at commodities, the crude oil price rose to just above $40 a barrel. Gold was on the decline, dropping a few dollars to $1,888 per ounce, and silver closed down at $23.48 an ounce. Mango exports have not been affected by the current pandemic as the demand remains high. Mangoes are a seasonal fruit in Fiji, and farmers have been supplying exporters since July. Details with Felipe Naikaso.
It may not be one of the main exports, but farmers have earned more than enough money this year to assist them during this hard time.
The company that I supply my mangoes to have already come 4 times since last month. Now the leftover mangoes, I will be selling them to Suva.
51-year-old Nalulu says he has 30 mango trees. He says the 3 main varieties he exports include Fiji mango, parrot mango and the peach mango.
Majority of these trees were planted by my mother, and now it is helping my family earn income.
Bar farmer Mohammed Faryaz says he has supplied at least 7 tons since last month to Dean's Marketing. He says he has at least 100 mango trees which are solely for exports.
As soon as they started fruiting, then they come and spray, then they start picking.
According to the Ministry of Agriculture, Fiji supplies most of its mangoes to New Zealand, followed by Australia, Canada and the US. Approximately 15 to 20 tons of mangoes are exported in a week. Fiji has 5 different varieties of mangoes, which are juicy mango, parrot mango, peach mango, Fiji mango and the hybrid ones. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
That's all from Business Tonight. Jamie joins you next with the latest from sports.
Naka, and good evening. Ahead in sports, PGFA says proper procedures followed for drug tests. And the sniper targets title fight. This and more coming up.
Bula FM number 2 NSR.
Bula FM number 2 NSR.
The Fiji Football Association claims proper procedures were followed before drug tests were conducted on bar players Saula Wanga and Manasa Nawakula. Both players failed their drug tests at the Battle of the Giants tournament in August. The pair are suspended for 3 years as they are repeat offenders. However, their lawyer Abe Singh claims tests were done without the consent of the 2 players. Aquila Dama with the details.
PGFA trusts their medical team and says proper processes were followed. They have to come through Fiji FA system. The constitution is very clear. They're trying to have constitutional redress, and first and foremost, and against me personally, no, Fiji Football is an association. They have to look into that and everything, and they will face the consequences when it's all over.
The player's lawyer doesn't agree with Patel and Fiji FA.
If you look at the anti-doping, FIFA anti-doping regulation, 2019 edition, it gives a form. And if you look at the form at the front and at the back, it gives the players right. Those things were not followed.
Singh says Ostec Medical Labs Limited are not registered under the World Anti-Doping Agency, but Patel disagrees.
They are not. Can they prove it? See, in fact, under WADA, I have done some research. The only one that is registered is in Australia. Otherwise, no.
It is registered. Fiji Football has got their own anti-doping policy and everything, and the WADA policy and everything comes into effect next year when the government puts it with the Ministry of Youth and Sports. They're trying to bring it to the Parliament and everything, but Fiji FA has got their own anti-doping policy.
Singh is representing the players at the Fiji FA Independent Disciplinary Committee hearing, which is currently underway in Suva. Aquila Dhama, FBC Sports.
Experienced Mba goalkeeper Misiwani Nairumbe is raring to get back on the field at the court's IDC. Nairumbe has been out with a knee injury since July and is hoping he gets the nod for the tournament. Felipe Naikaso reports.
The 24-year-old has done all he can during recovery and hopes he can play again after being sidelined for 3 months.
If I'm given a chance, and I know I'll do my best for the tournament that is ahead of us. I've fully recovered. It's been 4 months I've been recovered. Now I'm fully recovered and I'm preparing for this edition.
Nairumbe also says that the men in black should never be counted out, especially with their inconsistent performance during the league.
So I'm 100% sure that the team will go out there. We'll give our hearts out, and we know we can do well in this IDC, and we are preparing well for this tournament.
The side is also anticipating a wet tournament, but they will need to adapt to it.
Sometimes it does. I remember, I think, one of the finals between Bay and Lambasa 2 or 3 years ago. The first goal was because of the ground conditions, but so we have to be prepared for anything.
The men in black play their first match against Nandi next Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. The second match is against Navua on Wednesday at 1 p.m. and their final pool match is against Lambasa on Thursday at 7 p.m. Felipe Naikaso, FBC Sports.
One of the youngest players in the Rewa women's football side is ready to take on the big guns at next week's Inter-District Championship. 14-year-old Tavaita Tikoi Suva will be making her first IDC appearance on Tuesday and says she expects competition to be much tougher than league games. Karlaini Tavi has more.
Playing alongside national rep Naomi Wanganindrola has helped Tavaita Tikoi Suva become a better player.
Looking so far from the senior players that I got lots of attitudes from them and good skills from them. Defending skills and attacking and scoring goals.
The Ravi Matuku in Lao native is advising youths to venture into other sports like football and not stick to the traditional norm.
I try to do that because it's it's some of the game that they can't do in school. Like they can't walk in school, that they can try some of the games, soccer or some activities.
The Rewa women's team will be out to stamp its mark in this year's IDC.
The aim definitely is to win the women's IDC. As you know, that Rewa women have missed out on winning the league. So we want to go in and win the IDC something before we close off the women's season.
Despite a few hiccups at the beginning of the season, the club is back on track.
The challenges were people did not turn up, girls did not turn up for training, attendance was poor, and just because of that we had a lack of fitness. So this is the area we are to improve if we are to win in IDC. Thanks to Rewa Football that the girls are into camp early and that everybody's in camp, so we'll now work on fitness.
Rewa will take on Nandronga next Tuesday at Videsi Park at 1 p.m. Karlini Tavi, FBC Sports.
Preparation towards the court's Inter-District Championship does not come easy for the Nriketi senior football team. with some players living as far as Lambasa. The biggest challenge is getting the whole team to train together in one location. Tale Materkula reports.
Training together as a full squad is almost impossible for Ndreketi's senior football team.
Players who are part of the team, they are working in Lambasa. And as we know, Ndreketi and Lambasa, the distance is quite big. It takes 1.5 hours to travel from Ndreketi to Lambasa one way. So that's unfortunate for us.
However, this has not dampened the spirit of the side.
We have decided that the team will come together over the weekend, and we will bring those players from Lambasa to come and train with us so that they can gel in with the team.
After losing out in the pool stages last year, Ndreketi aims to stamp its mark and finish on a high this season.
The goal for this year's competition is especially to go over our pool games. We want to take one pool game at a time. And our plan and our target for this year's inter-district competition is to take Ndreketi to the semi-finals and as well as to the finals, right? We want to end it at the final.
Set to face Ndreketi in their second group match on Wednesday, Tailevu Neta series say for them it's one game at a time.
The team is to take each game as they come. We are fortunate to play the opening game on Tuesday at 10:30 at the NZ Stadium, which is an added bonus, opening game for the tournament.
Ndreketi will face Senganga in its first pool match on Tuesday at 1 p.m, while Tailevu Neta Siri opens the senior division competition against Raki Raki at 10:30 a.m. at ANZ Stadium. Tale Materkula, FBC Sports.
Former Fiji middleweight boxing champion Sebastian the Sniper Singh is ready for his return to the ring. Singh has had some time to re-look at his career after being suspended from boxing for more than 3 months, and says he and his team have already laid out plans for his return. Caroline Itabi has more.
The 26-year-old aims to secure a World Boxing Organization or International Boxing Association sanctioned match.
Right now, me and the team, we're just working on reducing our weight, get back on our weight, and just like we issued a challenge from super welter to super middle, we'll fight anybody in the weight division. And we are gunning for probably an IBO or a WBA world title or something.
The Uptown Boxing Gym, which helped nurture Singh's boxing career, will be hosting a program to bring more youth to the sport.
Our focus right now is to try and teach these young kids, coming up. We go to our neighborhood shops, there'll be youth standing there doing nothing. So we are doing an invitation to them. If they don't have anything to do, just come out to Uptown Boxing.
The Sniper is expected to fight Silveni Nawai in December. Their last fight in June last year ended in a draw. Caroline Itavi, FBC Sports.
England women completed a clean sweep in their Cricket 2020 series against the West Indies with a 3-wicket win in a truncated fifth and final match. The match was reduced to 5 overs per side after rain delayed the start of play by just over 2 hours. And while West Indies lost, it was this play that caught the eye of many. That's it from Sports Tonight. Coming up in new media, a study finds American children have spent more time in front of screens during lockdown. Details after the break.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.
American families have spent several months at home, and while there are downsides, there are also positives. But one thing that stands out is the screen time of children. And it's weather time now with Angie.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather World. It was a bit filtered look to the skies today, and depending on where you were, things might have been similar around you. Well, we did welcome the month of October with showers, that's for certain. Checking the other centers out, in the west, the sun is off duty for a while here, so showers are well in the picture. Eastwards from Peck Harbour to Suva, there is high chance for evening showers. And up north, I wouldn't call it picture perfect, as it also has shadows of showers. At sea, southeast winds 20 to 25 knots, rough seas. Turning to the tides, low tide at 12:37 a.m. with high tide at 6:44 a.m. Sunrise will be at 5:47. For tomorrow, it will be a showery day, and that too for a Friday. I'm not so excited. Tomorrow's temps, Suva and Nandi will have temperatures at 29 degrees. The rest will fall in the low 20s. And looking further on to Saturday, I'm afraid there is more showers rolling in. Can it please go away so we can have a good weekend? Well, let's hope it does. That's all the weather news from my side. Jackie joins you next.
Thanks so much for that, Angie. In Fiji Impulse, we asked, do you think there should be more awareness on rheumatic heart disease?
I think because people out there don't know what is a rheumatic heart disease.
I think there should be a lot of awareness relates to rheumatic heart disease, because there's a lot of people in Fiji that are not taking it seriously.
Yes, I think that there should be more awareness.
Yes, I think it should be more awareness.
Recapping the main stories for tonight, claims of prostitution and drug surfaces at PRB flats. USPVC faces backlash over comments. And Mboa starts feeling climate change impact. For these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. A poll question we're asking, will it be the toughest school term to date for students? Visit our FBC website to answer. And on to our shot of the day, afternoon view of Wailevu East Coast Sabu Bay, sent in by Emilien Diwanga. And send us newsworthy pictures to email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj, via Facebook page FBC News and our Twitter page at FBC_news. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow, from the team and I, stay safe, stay warm and dry. Bye for now.
Baik tu Dendi berkata tahu, Radio Fiji बहुत Radio Fiji रोज सुनता हूँ.
Radio Fiji 2 देश की धड़कन.